Well, hello, that's me again. Today is April 27th, 2025. It is Sunday, and I decided to do a thing which is, of course, boring like hell. I would decide to introduce you, well, or rather reintroduce you to the issue of the real tactical operational strategic analysis. But before that, as you can see yourself, the question now is why Russia decided, for example, to light up, so to speak, the participation of the international troops, including North Korean troops. And believe me, North Korean troops are not the only ones. We already spoke about this issue before that North Koreans would have been present in some small capacities, be that on the company level, but it's slightly more than that. But as you can see yourself, Maria Zakharova talks about the participation, including actually not only Zakharova, that Moscow hails North Korean solidarity in Kursk region liberation. The solidarity shown by our Korean friends is a manifestation of the high, essentially allied level of our relations. And here is the one thing which has to be kind of understood correctly. It's not essentially allied. They are allied. North Korea and Russia are full-blown allies across the board, from economic to military. And actually, the treaty which was signed by Mr. Putin and Mr. Kim was obviously the fact that there is a key phrase there: to support each other by all means necessary. So Russians used some of the Korean troops, and so we are confident that our ties will continue to strengthen and develop. It goes without saying, it is absolutely correct. And so Mr. Gerasimov also stated that the North Korean troops demonstrated high professionalism, courage, and heroism in battle, and so their resilience, and praised their contribution to the liberation of the area around the town of Suja. So as you might understand, because they were placed around the town of Suja, especially much of it was actually auxiliary role. It doesn't mean that they didn't fight; they fought, but these are not large formation, but something happened. Some command have been given from the top of Russian government to go in and open all that and start talking and promoting those units and formations. And it's not just North Koreans. If you take a look, for example, at this video, which is now being circulated all around the not only it's all around Russian TV channels and elsewhere, you will see yourself that actually there are French, there are Italian guys, there is Anglo-Saxon battalion, which probably now is larger than battalion, and they talk about people, Europeans also, who go in, they form their formations up to the battalion level. This is serious. And they fight for Russian armed forces. Many of them decide then to stay at Russia because they come there, as this video tells you, for the reasons of the, conservative, normal Christian values which are promoted by Russia, and they feel themselves at home in this respect. So it's totally understandable, and evidently the command has been given that finally you can talk about these formations much more openly, and you can praise those people. And as you can see yourself, Italian, French, obviously Americans, bunch of Americans, including this young kid who was the son of the deputy director of the CIA, no less, so who died recently, was killed in the battle. So yeah, it's all there. It always was, actually. But here we have now officially the, the spigot opened, and there we go. So that's not only it. Obviously, this hustle, this all, I don't know how to call it. It's hustle, okay, let's put it this way, of the media and establishment media in the United States leads us to this. I don't know why they think that they are smart people. They are not. And this girl, whatever the name of her anchor woman, who were interviewing Mr. Lavrov already had it, with as you know, remember him a couple of years ago telling CNN to go pound sand and publish and write whatever they want. So, but yes, he talking to her, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has rebuked CBS host in an interview on Sunday, repeating that Moscow is ready to seek a balance of interest, both with Ukraine and with the US. The network journalist Margaret Brennan has said that she haven't heard from the top diplomat that Moscow is willing to make any concessions on anything to date. Well, I mean, Margaret Brennan, she is a classic, TV bimbo. She, well, remember, Megyn Kelly had also hard time trying to play smart with Mr. Putin. So, I mean, they better not go into trying to, communicate and trying to exert their influence, which is primarily for the low IQ people, on some people like Lavrov. So, and Lavrov basically was irritated. No, my brief answer is you are wrong, Lavrov told Brennan. I have been emphasizing repeatedly in relation to Ukraine, in relation to strategic relations with the United States, I have been emphasizing our readiness to seek balance of interest. If this is not what your station considers readiness for negotiations, then I don't know how to be even less eloquent in trying to be brief in my answer. Yes, the point is it's CBS, it's establishment media. Most of those people are war criminals who push all these Ukrainian narratives, and they're imbeciles, frankly. I mean, normal people do not go to work in media, especially establishment media, and they don't have high intelligence level. The only thing they have is the ability to dress themselves nicely and repeat the same talking points, which are actually told them to by their big bosses, and some of them are genuine articles. I mean, bimbos or imbeciles, and who continue to repeat like parrots all kind of the nonsense. So Lavrov rebuked this Brennan lady, but there is obviously how to say it, when we speak about the whole situation, I decided to to bite the bullet and again to explain to you, because this was popping up in a number of their conversations, and people write reviews of my books, or they talk to about why do you know this or that, how can you predict that. Well, it's actually, the explanation is fairly simple. And obviously, whenever you deal with the issue of the warfare, you're not gonna know anything unless, of course, you are a serious level staff officer, and even then you will know only so much, which is allocated to you by your competences and your billet, so to speak, the one which describes your essentially job description for military person. It is all about data sets. And as I am on record constantly, Combined West doesn't have data sets from special military operation. They operate based on this BS, which is fed to them by their, SOBs from armed forces of Ukraine, which are becoming more and more actually NATO forces. And that is why actually this command was given to allow, so to speak, the promotion of the internationalist formations for Russian armed forces. They are obviously foreigners, and the reason being, for example, there is now well-documented sadistic atrocities of unimaginable level, for example, committed by the NATO formations in Kursk area, Poles especially, but there are now Colombians, and this is the reason why this thing started to be exposed, because many of them will be going to the court-martial and in the courts of the against courts dealing with the war crimes and crimes against humanity. Many Poles fit that well, but the Colombians, Americans, British, so there are those people who do that, and this is in preparation for many of those people and nationals being charged with war crimes. So they're really good at it. I mean, so and when you begin to look at this at the larger, so to speak, picture, there are many people saying that, oh yeah, that's not NATO forces, the Ukrainian armed forces are not NATO force. Oh yes, they are. My suggestion to you, to go to our good friend Larry Johnson blog and read attentively. He did a well of a job of collecting and kind of ordering the list of their exercises, military exercises between NATO and Ukraine since 1990s, and how NATO was turning Ukraine armed forces into NATO force. They didn't do it really well because they suck, pardon my French, because they didn't know what they're dealing with. And here that's what I was trying to deliver to you today. Well, I already wrote about this on this article by Gray Zone. Gray Zone wrote this article, as you can see yourself, on April 23, 4 days ago, and they talked about in it about the, well, United Kingdom intel behind Ukraine's disastrous Krynky invasion, leaked documents reveal, and Gray Zone discloses basically how British planned this catastrophe in Krynky. If anybody remembers anything about Krynky, it was in the October 2023. They decided, for some reason, British decided that they understand what amphibious operations are, and they wanted to create the Plasdarm or foothold from which, if you read attentively this Gray Zone article, those people evidently live in the alternative military universe. As I would have to say, lives most of Pentagon, and they believe that they can establish their foothold on the bank of Dnieper, and from Krynky then develop some kind of the strategic offensive operation and reclaim Crimea. I mean, it's probably Benny Hill type people, which they are, most of them are anyway, from the British military and general staff who planned that. Read this article. And I remember doing, you can go back and see, watch those videos of mine, but then again, I have friends, my colleagues, you know, the people who are essentially staff officers. Some of them are not just staff, some of them are actually commanding officers, but it's the whole other story. They're all senior officers or high, high level officers, and at that time, when they started dealing with this Krynky thing, it was clear that it is a complete disaster. There will be a meat grinder, and that's how it all ended. Anything they try to do, including Kursk, for example, they kill like unbelievable number of people. And in this case, you have to explain, especially considering the fact there's nothing wrong with, per se, people going into military through the ROTC or officer candidate schools. I mean, if you have the natural science and physical mathematical degrees, you will be able at least to scratch the surface of the modern military technology, and you will understand at least on the tactical level what is going on. Would you become the good operational level guy? No. Most likely not, but you will understand how a company operates, you know, how, let's say, you will understand even how air wing operates, for example, and so kind of like in between thing, but you will be able, for example, to command up to a company. I commanded essentially at my life the equivalent of the company being executive officer on the ship of the third rank. So it's kind of, and then you go into this thing which is planning, and it's like, it's boring like hell. But I wanted to demonstrate to you why Russians are really calm at doing what they are doing, and why, for example, if you look attentively today at map, not today, it's actually 3 days ago, from our good friend Marat Khairulin, what is going on, for example, at the Donetsk operational axis. You will see yourself what is very important. Look attentively at the upper level corner. It gives you the scale of things, and on the right lower corner you can see yourself the lines of the combat contact, how they evolved. Do not forget, in Russian or European convent, if you wish, so is the month is always second after the date, and so as you can see yourself, there are all kinds of the motions, and you can see yourself how Russians move along the really broad front, and the latest one is from the 1st of April, and if you take a look at Kurakhova, you can see yourself that the shortest distance from which Russians, of course, they went longer distances is, well, if you put together these 4 kilometers, how many times? About 6 times it fits there. So yeah, you look at 24 kilometers, they moved to the Bogatiri, and so that's the situation on just Donetsk operational axis. And there are to explain to people who also ask, where do I get my data on the killed and wounded and all that? Here it is, as you can see yourself, it's mskvremya.ru. This is the website which is religiously follows Russian Defense Ministry, because not everybody can follow Russian Defense Ministry on the official sites unless you go obviously to the Telegram channel, and you will see how they reflect that they are excellent. So, and this is what you have to keep in mind. And today, as you can see yourself, there was a drop a little bit in there, well, this tally, if you wish. But yeah, the job continues. And here we have to come to what I was talking about, the forecasting. And I want to stress, again, for any people who ever asks me, how do you make the assessment of this and this? I will tell you one thing. You don't go around, look at the piece of the equipment and masturbate to it. That's for sure you don't. You want to, even without looking at it, although sometimes it looks pretty cool. For example, I mean, if you take a look at it intensively at F-16, it's an extremely cool aircraft. It is obsolete, but it is very cool looking, no doubt about it. One of the sexiest. But you look at those tactical technical parameters, and then you begin to go into what I was telling you about constantly, COFM, correlation of forces and means, because this is the only thing which will actually predict to you with some probability. Do not forget, everything we do in our lives is probabilistic. We just do those things based on, maybe, possible, probable, and things of this nature. And war is probabilistic affair, most probabilistic affair of them all. There are so many black swans, so to speak, which fly there. And that is why whenever you operate on the highest tactical or especially operational level, so you begin to look at things and ask yourself a question, how do I really assess this? No, don't go into, you can, please be my guest, to all kinds of those military porn videos, all those guys who say, oh yeah, look at this thing, it flies this way and shoots like this and bang, everybody wins. No, doesn't work like this. And victory is usually defined by the probability, sometimes mathematical expectation, probability of the achieving success. And then comes this issue, how do you quantify the success? Here is the example. As already have been done many times before, I showed you this model. It's in Russian, from the, obviously, military thought. It's issue number 1 for 2023. It is for officers, and people without the special military education will have difficulty time understanding it. But look at this. It is called the modeling of the combat and special combat activities. So, as you can see yourself, this is the formula which is underlined on the top. And this is the one which it's a general formula. Of course, when you begin to look deep into it, this formula, which is supported by very serious mathematical and empirical apparatus, and Russians, of course, have this all access to the probability data. So it has this form, as you can see yourself, in terms of the probability for victory, either side X or side Y. And m, the letter m, which is in the power or exponent there, is nothing more, if you take a look attentively to the table below, it is the parameter m, which is the parameter of the scale. If you have parameter m, which is equals 1, which we will review today, it's called the combat actions on the tactical level. It's going to be between platoon anywhere up to the, well, brigade, but brigade is already a very high tactical level. And as you can see yourself, it's M1, and M2 is operational level, M3 is scaling parameter. on the strategic level. All this because of the Pareto distribution, which creates constantly the issues which are self-identical, so to speak. So as you can see yourself, this is what it is. The parameters, the M. But because we're going to be talking today, looking at the tactical level, or for example, battalion level, we're not going to be using M equals 2, M equals 3. So we're going to use an exponent which equals 1. So which is simplified matters actually quite dramatically. And so before we go, let's take a look what is, well, battalion tactical group, but it's motor rifle battalion. Here's the motor rifle battalion. This is how it looks like in defense. This is, I mean, it's pretty common. There are very many similarities between, for example, Russian battalion tactical group and motor rifle battalion of US Army. So as you can see yourself, motorized rifle battalion in defense. On the front, they up to 5 kilometers and depths up to 3 kilometers. Then you have the motor rifle battalion on the offense, as you can see yourself. Again, it's much narrower in terms of the attack, so to speak, up to 2 kilometers. But, well, what can I say? This is what it is. You can obviously play with those configurations on the attack, but I mean the science is there, and of course it is nowadays updated by all kinds of technological issues. And here we are. So let's take a look at the classic problem, so to speak, how you know things. Here it is. The enemy is a battalion tactical group, beta G, with attached means of enforcement. What are attached means of enforcement? You can get some kind of the additional BTRs, BMPs, you can get additional air defense something, but for example, they say it's 500 units. And defends the area with the front of 5 kilometers and the depth of 3 kilometers. Yeah, this is pretty much, that's what battalions do. This is their defensive position. And our attacking force is numbered at X equals 800 units. The personnel of both sides are highly motivated and can take 40% losses without stopping combat. And task, develop a method of assessments of the probability of victory, a degree of success of the attack, with consideration of attached forces and means. That is a separate issue. What are attached forces and means? We are developing here the method. In terms of the specific parameters, I will explain to you further down the road. So, what it all means? Well, if we go, I specifically deliberately translated it for you. Solution. From the initial conditions, parameter alpha equals 1. And as you can see yourself, parameter alpha is a parameter of moral superiority of one side over another, which is the ratio of losses each side can take. It's lambda x and lambda y, because they are, by the conditions or statement of this problem, are considered to be equal to each other in terms of motivation and morale. So yeah, if you divide them by, you get 1. As you can see yourself, all military science is extremely ratio based. Of course, it's also based on theory of probability and a lot of calculus, but and so let's take a look how we're gonna approach it. So let's write expression for calculation of components of the parameters of technological superiority, ρ. This is a critical parameter which goes into the formula which I already showed you of the probability of the victory. So ρ equals the root of the fourth power through all kinds of other parameters. In this particular case, there are 4 of them: ρs, ρv, ρ, and ρm. A obviously will be standing for attackers, D for defenders. We start with the ρs, which is the, well, you can call it whatever you want, ρp if you wish, ρ of personnel. It's a cubic root of the product of 3 ratios, which are critical. And this is where we come to real military expertise. Not this BS from the guys who masturbate to all kinds of the, military equipment, and that's their level. They wouldn't understand the first thing about the operations. But look at this. What are those things? As you can see yourself, this is explanation. What are those ratios? SA1 and SD1 are degrees of the preparedness training of the command corps of both sides and could be assessed through the longevity of service at the command positions. Absolutely. This is how you quantify things. For example, if I get I can go with the essentially average, but most of the time it is the sum, it's weighted average, I would say, on all level of the command corps, be that from the platoon commanders to obviously chief of staff of the battalion and battalion commander. But the point is, if you have the battalion commander who is a young, let's say, very fast moving along the career line captain, let's say this, it's probably good, but is his longevity, even considering the fact that he could be a military genius, is he really properly trained to run the whole thing? For example, against some major who probably has the twice long career in terms of commanding of the battalion. It's obviously a debatable thing, but yeah, I would rather go with the experienced guy, and especially the guy who goes through all kinds of necessary, what it's called courses. I went through the courses, which I'm not going to be going into this apart after my Naval Academy. So, and as you can see yourself, you calculate this. Then you have SA2, which is attacking, and SD2, which is defending, are degrees of coordination of personnel of both sides, and could be assessed through the longevity of the process of developing combat cohesion. Well, for the army guys, let me put it this way, even if you have to have a serious army, it's at least a year, well, probably even more, In terms of battalion, you know what, the longer the better, especially if you train them and especially if you go through the combat. So, and we will see the actual numbers. I mean, they will be made up numbers, but they will be used to calculate things. And then, of course, we go to the average SA3, SD3, and average time between detection of the targets and the strike, destruction of it. That is a critical part. This is the issue. Actually, if you go and take a look attentively at what Mr. Colonel Jacques already did for us, and describing what is Rook and Rock, as you can see yourself, this is how it looks like. It's Recon fire complex and Recon strike complex. Rock is fire, Rook is, strike. As you can see yourself, tactics and operation and driving systems, he explains to us what are the combat informational systems Russians use. In this particular case, means of recognition, this is the thing which allowed you, I don't know, Eric Prince evidently didn't understand what he was talking about when he spoke. I mean, not that it's probably honest mistake, but he stated that Russians had the issue with the time between detection and strike on it, which was, he said, 1 hour. No, he is absolutely wrong. While Russians at the beginning of special military operation had this time of about 8 minutes, later it was reduced to less than 1 minute. That means you detect the target in less than 1 minute, you have the strike on it. So, and this is what Mr. Jacques Baud did his wonderful job for us, explaining how it all works. So it is less than a minute today, especially on the tactical level. Then, of course, we go and take a look at what is, here it is, what is raw V. And raw V is the, VA and VD, attack and defense, are portions of areas of combat which are being constantly surveilled by means of reconnaissance. And as you saw yourself, Rooks, Rogs, Russians obviously being advanced in terms of the net-centric warfare and sensor and data fusion, they have, if necessary, even on the level of battalion, their combined picture, fused picture, including the space assets in some points. And as I would repeat, people who are on the line of the combat contact in Russia, in Ukraine, so they already were talking about this, that the battalion, even company commander, can see deep into the 30-kilometer, into the tactical rear of the, for example, Ukrainians. So we continue with that. So after that, we go and look at this. So this is your basically effective strikes, weapons, fires. So as you can see yourself again, DA is attacker, DD is defender. Are weighted averages of the ranges of effective strikes, defeats on the enemy targets. RD are average portions of the ammo load required for hits and defeat of the targets. Or we would say math expectation, which you can say that, but that's a separate issue. And then, of course, ROA and ROD are weighted averages of the number of ammo loads available to both sides. As you can see yourself, the whole thing becomes more and more complex, and even those parameters, believe me, they can consist of their own parameters. And as the result, if we come to the, in the end, final maneuver, we come to the parameter of raw M, MA and MD, average speeds of combat maneuvering of subunits and reserves of both sides. So let's give them some numbers for you to understand how it all works on the tactical level. Remember, tactical level, we have our exponents, which are all one. They are scale exponents. So as you can see yourself, we have the longevity of the service of the officer corps, 5 years, 4 years. So combat cohesion, 6 months. For both, for attacking, and 4 months for defenders. So they talk about the time rook rock reaction of the rooks and rocks. For example, 15 minutes for attackers, 20 minutes for defenders. And so the parameters are the parameters. Parameter S equals 1.36. And so let's assume that other parameters, which are rho v is 1.5. That means they move faster than the defenders, attackers move faster than defenders 1 point time fast, like ROM, and all kinds of other things which we give about this ROV and RO. It's about Recon, it's the whole other story. We just assume, we give them numbers. And as the result, when you take a look attentively how this solution will continue, and here it is. And then the parameter of technological superiority is calculated as all those rows, the root of the fourth power. And then using this probability formula, which I already showed you in the beginning, that's using formula for probability for our X, we are attacking, we get the probability of the success of, as you can see yourself, 0.74. It's high but not high enough. And here is the issue which you have to understand. This is what staffs do. Not only they collect and analyze and systematize the combat data, they also calculate required force. 0.74 is not good enough. We want, for example, 0.8 and higher. How do you go about it? Well, this is where you calculate your required force. And your required force in this case, and parameter of the technological superiority will be, for that matter, 1 point. You will have to have it as 2.4 and higher. So there you go. This is just basic problem which you can and should solve when you are basically assessing the kind of the probability of the success. And evidently this is not what Pentagon and especially British guys do, apart from the fact they all operate on the fake data, which is the basically Ukrainian propaganda. These morons still believe that, for example, that Patriot can shoot down hypersonic weapons. It cannot, and so, you know. And then when you begin to look at this, and if you have a good data set with verifiable, high reliability data, you are good. And that's what Russians did. And they continue to do this. But NATO cannot do this. And that is why it finds itself in this conundrum, so to speak, which we see today. And as the result, suddenly, if you look attentively at the, in this particular case, battalion tactical group, how about we go to brigade tactical group? It's still tactical thing. You have your M exponent equals 1. But once you go on the level of division, things become so crazy in terms of numbers, and you obviously suddenly you are on operational level. And remember, victories are in wars are always achieved only on operational and strategic level. So on operational level you have to square all your parameters, which of course throws things a little bit even further into in complexity. And then of course if you go on the strategic level, this is your M3, you cube them, and then the whole thing becomes a very large calculational task. And that's what general staffs and staffs of the armies and corps do. They calculate. Every commander, from platoon commander to commander of or chief of the general staff, they calculate. That's what they do. War is calculation. War is probabilistic event. And this is just to demonstrate to you what it takes for the battalion tactical group to deal with this. Well, guess what? The battalion commanders, they can go, for example, already into the special courses. It used to be what's called the Vystrel, famous courses of the professional upgrade of the people of the tactical level. But once you get into the brigade level, you have to go with the war college. And of course, once you are in the division, you have to go through the also Academy of the General Staff. Well, guess what they teach there? No, they don't teach you that, look at this piece of machinery. Wow, looks so cool. It can shoot something. All right, no. They sit there and they calculate. They calculate and then develop operations based on the real numbers and real events. Not this propaganda which West ran itself into the complete ground. Now the British and frankly American military, they paraded themselves as clowns. They don't understand what they are doing. They don't know how to properly plan operations, and especially strategic level. You saw yourself famous counteroffensive. You saw yourself how many they killed in Krynky. They killed 76,000 in Kursk area, which is fully liberated. So this is their level. You cannot prepare cadre officer who understands and grasps all those complexities without getting them from the get-go into military academies, which begin to train them not only as the full-blown engineers, but the tactical level officers who will be able to progress to the operational one. And guess what? It is all probabilities. It is all calculations, and some of them are very complex and now integrated with the extremely advanced computer equipment and all kinds of sensors. And there you go. Some of the parameters of like ROS and ROV, we just gave them volunteer numbers, so to speak, or free numbers. We just decided to give them these numbers. But reality is you need to have a very good recon and to even understand how it works. And then you will need to have a diligent staffs of the even on the level of the platoon. They already have the journal of the combat. But of course, let's say battalion, yeah, you have to write those things. Today, obviously, you do it electronically, but you also still have the paper copy with all numbers, all data, and it is all then sent up. But you have to be able, even already on the battalion level, to be able to handle it and make the decisions based on that. It's not like somebody says, oh yeah, I feel I can go and win something. No, you cannot do that. The times of Admiral Nelson or Napoleon or Kutuzov, when very much a lot of what you've been doing, you could do it by intuition. Today, no, there's no, intuition obviously develops itself, but you have to have numbers and you have to know how to deal with that. We know now that NATO doesn't know, and that's the result. So this is what I wanted to tell you today, guys, and I understand it's going to be boring for some people, but this is what I do in my life. And so, as usual, those who like what I do, please support me on the Patreon or buy me a coffee too, and subscribe to my channel. And what can I say? Have the nice rest of your weekend, and I'll talk to you later, guys. Bye-bye.